Happy August, happy post earnings. We are delighted to be here with you all today. So hello everyone, thanks for joining us live on X. I'm Alesia Haas, Chief Financial Officer of Coinbase, and I'm here with our co-founder and CEO, Brian Armstrong. As always, we are so excited to connect with you, our customers, our community, our shareholders, to talk about this past quarter, Q2 2025, and answer questions. This is a live conversation, and we'll be covering pre-submitted and taking questions in real time. We won't be answering questions on when we'll list a token, any specific customer support cases, and regulatory questions that we covered in depth on earnings day, or personal questions we're just going to skip today. All right, before we get started, I have to remind you that we may make comments on risks, forward-looking statements which may vary materially from actual results, information concerning our risks, uncertainties, and other factors that could cause these results to differ is included in our SEC filings. With that, it's time to kick things off. And here is our first question for Brian. Rachel on Chain asks, what role do Base and the Base app play in Coinbase's Q2 performance and our long-term vision?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. Great to be with you all live here to get some more questions answered. So, Base is a really innovative chain that we created, built on top of Ethereum that helps it scale. And we just recently launched the Base app. Now, these two things, they're not major contributors to our core metrics in Q2, but they are making incredible progress. And so just to give you a couple of stats, the Base chain, it saw stablecoin volume consistently topping $4 billion a month, which was great. On-chain assets on Base grew over 20%. They reached more than 12 billion. We're progressively decentralizing Base. We want it really to be open to everyone. So it reached what we call stage 1 decentralization. It was at stage 0 previously. We'll get to stage 2 eventually. And then we actually launched the Base app because we want to make sure that the chain is usable and people who are building on top of it can get distribution. And as I mentioned in the earnings call, we now have over 700,000 people on that wait list. I've been using the beta app quite a bit, and it's amazing. You post content, you earn money from doing that. Content creators, whether they're on X or they're musicians or they have a podcast, like they can have a direct relationship with their audience and monetize it. And it integrates, it's not just a decentralized social app, it's integrating all these decentralized protocols which have come together, decentralized identity, messaging, third-party apps, and of course a self-custodial wallet with decentralized social media. So it's kind of this very ambitious idea around how can we make a super app on crypto with all these decentralized protocols, totally reinvent the way that the social media business models are done. And we think it's basically driving crypto utility. And so it's got a lot of potential around both stablecoin usage, how DeFi is used, how do we get the next billion people on chain? Because it's difficult for us to go to every country of the world with our regulated financial service products and go get a local license and set up a local team and get a local bank partnership. Self-custodial wallets like the Base app, we believe, are going to help us get to that billion users in the long tail of countries, while our centralized products do the best at creating financial services in some of the biggest economies of the world. So there's a whole bunch of different ways Base is monetizing as well. I don't know, Alesia, do you want to touch on some of those?
Sure, I'm happy to. So the Base chain directly is monetizing with sequencer fees, and you can find those in our other transaction revenues. But we really benefit from the indirect revenue that Base drives. So Base, as Brian just shared, is driving USDC growth. Base is driving people to say, oh, I might want to transact on chain in other ways. And so it drives trading revenue. And it's just the overall ecosystem and flywheel of effect of the more we can bring on chain, the more our other products and services will monetize via Base.
Yeah, this is really Coinbase pushing the frontier. I guess I'll make one other kind of comment, which is that we try to really have this resource allocation around 70-20-10. So 70% goes to the core, 20% to adjacent bets, 10% are venture. And we do want to really take ambitious bets in that venture bucket. The Base app is an example of that in Base itself, I would say, the chain. And so that's one thing that Coinbase, I think, does well. We have a portfolio of bets on the frontier. Not all of them are going to work, but some of them turn out to be massive, like USDC started as one of those. And Base is an exciting venture bet as well.
Absolutely. All right, next question. Coinbase Duck. I'm super duper excited about the Coinbase One credit card. Maximum of 4% Bitcoin back is a no-brainer. Is it sustainable, Brian? Will more choice of crypto assets be added in the future?
Yeah, well, thanks, Coinbase Duck, and everyone should follow his account if you don't already. He's got a lot of great content out there following us as an analyst. So yes, I think it is sustainable. Look, let me just zoom out first. We got a lot of positive feedback about the Coinbase credit card. Mostly people, they love the rewards. The idea of getting 4% in Bitcoin back is really appealing. And then they also love the design of it. I think it was a very novel and innovative design. This is think of this as the first version of the Coinbase credit card that we want to put out as we provide more and more financial services that are plugged into people's deposits on Coinbase. And it's appropriate that we started with a Bitcoin-focused card. We're sort of speaking to our core audience with the Genesis block right on the front of it. And over time, you can imagine us expanding this to providing rewards. And I mean, actually, I think at launch, you'll probably be able to choose the rewards in a different asset if you want, even though the card is Bitcoin-focused, but that's not the default. But over time, we'll have different credit card variants that come out with different designs for different types of people, even some that are a little bit more, let's say, they won't draw quite as much attention if you were to pay with it. And so we wanted to start with our core audience, but we'll expand over time to have a couple different options of cards that people can choose from. And I think in terms of is it sustainable, we believe so, yes. I mean, we have a suite of revenue streams now and products. When people come in and they store crypto with Coinbase and fiat, they're doing trading, they're doing staking, they're doing payments. They're increasingly able to do borrowing and lending since we've integrated the Morpho protocol on DeFi. And there'll be other monetization options over time. Base is monetizing in a variety of ways that Alesia just mentioned. So we think that when someone becomes a Coinbase One subscriber, it's kind of like saying, okay, I'm just going to think about the crypto economy. I'm just going to use Coinbase for all these different things. And so we can monetize in a variety of ways and plug more benefits into the Coinbase One program.
I just want to add on a couple of thoughts there. So I'm speaking from the pure CFO seat, the finance seat. So yes, we've modeled this. Yes, we believe these rewards are sustainable. But I want to share that the credit card is not designed to be a big driver of our revenue. The purpose of the credit card is to drive engagement, utility, and we believe that we will monetize our customers through other things, as Brian just alluded to. So don't think of the credit card as a big revenue driver. Think of it as a huge engagement driver, driving utility and driving our platform to grow through users' delight of this credit card and the more utility of crypto.
Yeah, great point. I would also say it's kind of a wedge into payments where we have all these customers who want to spend crypto. Not every merchant accepts crypto yet. And so by giving them this card, it allows them to spend their crypto, whether it's USDC or anywhere that these credit cards are accepted. It kind of gets you one half of the chicken and egg, and then you can go build up the other side of the market more easily and go land a bunch of merchants, which we're also doing with Shopify and our crypto as a service products, et cetera. So, yep.
All right, next question. Thank you, Rodolfo Yoshi. He asks, how do you foresee the relationship with Circle evolving? Will it become more integrated, or will Coinbase divest and create further separation?
Yeah, well, we have a great partnership with Circle. We're definitely not going to divest in any way or anything like that. I mean, we want to lean in and just work more with them. So I'm not sure what you mean exactly by integrated, but they are the issuer and we're the distributor. We're going to continue to build a great set of products and services that use USDC as a default, whether that's B2B payments that we're launching, merchant acceptance that we've just launched with Shopify using Coinbase Commerce and Base Pay. And of course, it's live and we use USDC in a lot of our trading pairs as well with our international exchange and our exchange in the US. And so even with perps and all these things that we just launched in the US. So we are going to continue to launch great products with USDC. We think it is the largest regulated stablecoin at this point. We think that there's a network effect to stablecoins where if both the sender and the recipient use the same coin, it's easier to understand. The UX is better. There's not an FX transaction underneath. So I know we're seeing a lot of proliferation of different stablecoins now. And sometimes when companies are coming into the crypto space, they say, oh, we should make our own stablecoin. These things seem very valuable. And then they realize over time that the interoperability is actually quite important. And so I would just encourage any of those folks coming into the space, reach out to us, reach out to Circle. Either of us can help you get set up and make sure that by the way, you're getting shared economics by using USDC as well, I should mention. And so there's kind of no reason to go go create your own. There's a lot of overhead to do that. You can use USDC, get shared economics, and be interoperable with the rest of the ecosystem. So anyway, we're long and bullish on our partnership with Circle.
I just want to add a few more technical details here in case anyone was interested. We do own a portion of Circle stock. You saw that we took a big gain on that investment in our second quarter results. We own just under 4% of their stock. The ownership of their stock is completely separate and distinct from our collaboration agreement, which drives our revenue in USDC and all of the initiatives that Brian just mentioned. So whether or not we hold the stock for forever doesn't impact this perpetually renewable contract that we have with Circle, where we continue to benefit from the economics of growing the ecosystem, both on our platform and also off platform.
Yep.
All right.
Great point. And
Next.
That's a perpetually renewable agreement. We should always, sometimes we get questions about that too. And so, yeah, we're planning to continue indefinitely into the future.
All right, next question. Poet on Base.E, thank you, Base customer, asks, Brian, I've been building on Base since day one. That's amazing. And it has been amazing to see how much easier it's becoming to onboard people, especially with chat-based agents in the Base app like Momo and Giza, where users can simply message to put their capital to work and earn yield. As this experience continues to evolve, what kind of AI or mini app use cases are you most excited about that could help wallets feel more like intelligent assistants?
Yeah, it's great. I'm glad you're experimenting with this and building on Base. Thank you for doing that. And I do think one of the more exciting areas of Base is we are seeing the proliferation of these AI agents through the chat interface, right? And they can actually help you take actions in the wallet. So, I've tried some of these. You mentioned a few of them, Mamo, and there's one banker bot that, I've used a little bit as well. So it's still early with these things, but I think they have a lot of potential. One of the things that I've done is that I'm excited about, I should say, is, having an AI agent that's actually a bit like an advisor, almost like a financial advisor. And it could start off by doing relatively simple things like helping you rebalance your portfolio periodically, maybe helping you get better yield on your assets, and making helpful suggestions in that arena. I think the eventual place this could get to is actually making suggested trades for you, right? It could ask you a series of questions and say, what's your level of risk tolerance? Do you want to have regular kind of distributions or cash flow from this, or you have higher risk, tolerate higher volatility? And then it could actually kind of cruise X and various price charts and whatever it might want to do, and periodically make recommendations. Now, query how does that scale, right? Like if these AI agents are helping all of our customers, does it turn into some sort of high frequency thing? You have to have gotten the trade in 100 milliseconds before somebody else. And, there's a lot of firms out there who've played around with AI trading in the, professional trader industry out there for more than a decade. So I don't want to claim that this is always going to work, but we are seeing early people experimenting with this you see it on X and on Base, like people playing with these. And I think it's a pretty fascinating field. I think we should all have an AI agent advising us on how to do better in our financial lives. It's probably better than just what most people are doing on their own. And I think these AI agents can also really help people with financial literacy, right? And teach them about dollar cost averaging or how to balance a portfolio. So these are ideas that I'm excited about, and AI is probably going to be a way that it updates every app. And so crypto is no exception.
All right, next question. Coinstronauts asks, any plans to pay dividends on Coinbase stock? I guess I'll take this one. No current plans. We are really focused on growth. We are focused on reinvesting into these new exciting areas like the Everything Exchange that Brian mentioned yesterday on our earnings call. And until we are a more mature company, more sustainable, predictable margins, that is not something we're currently contemplating. All right. Next question from live chat. So now we're moving to live questions. Axe NFT. When are you guys addressing the sudden block of Coinbase accounts? People get locked out for no reasons.
I can take that one. Yeah. So we've actually been working really hard on this. Thanks for bringing it up. We did notice this starting to happen about, 6 or 8 months ago, that there were a larger than ordinary number of accounts being blocked. And, look, there's no excuses for it. I don't want to explain, don't take anything of what I'm saying here as an excuse, but we looked into this deeply and there's a variety of reasons behind it. One is that we have a whole bunch of compliance obligations that are in place that some of these dials can become a little bit turned up too high and cause too many reviews. The other thing that we saw was a large number of attackers trying to kind of socially engineer customer accounts and get them to trick them into sending their funds off platform. So we had a lot of systems in place to protect customer funds from these if we felt like their accounts were under attack. But it clearly went a little too far, and it's tough to find the balance of this sometimes. So we've had a whole team digging into this for the last 6 months and made a ton of progress. I think we've reduced the issue by over 90% at this point. And it's a great lesson for us just as we continue to grow. We've got to find the right balance between protecting customer accounts, meeting our compliance obligations, but ultimately you have to create a great customer experience. And if you can't actually use your crypto when you want to, then we haven't made something that's better than the traditional financial system. So yeah, I appreciate you bringing it up. I think we've made a really massive dent in the problem. The next challenge we have is actually to change the perception of it out there, which might even be more difficult because once somebody sees something happen once or twice, they're like, oh, that's always going to happen. They might have to see 10 or 20 examples of it, the opposite happening for their perception to then be changed. And so we're going to have to be loud and consistent about sharing these updates that now that we've made some more progress and continue to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Thank you. All right, next question from Cash Wallet Headquarters asks, or Cash Wallet HQ. How is retail activity relative to institutional activity this quarter? Brian, why don't I start and you can add on. So this was a quarter where we saw lower volatility as well as a divergence between Bitcoin and all other crypto assets. Bitcoin was up roughly 6%. The market cap of every other asset was down 11%. And that market backdrop tends to really influence how traders trade on our platform. So with retail, we had slightly lower volume this quarter, along with the market. We saw strong hodling activity. So 90% of retail users are actually now engaged with things other than trading, staking, using USDC, using their Coinbase card, et cetera. And we're also seeing them engaging with DeFi lending. So we also saw over $1 billion in Bitcoin-backed loans. We're seeing the waitlist for Base grow, and people are really looking for the next thing. On the Insto side, we actually hit all-time highs on our prime financing. We saw growth in our custody business. We saw strong inflows for the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. And we're also seeing people just get more engaged across the stack. So the trading, financing, and custody is a real flywheel where most of our customers are using multiple products. Anything you want to add about what we saw this quarter?
Nope, nothing to add. I'm just
All right.
kind of thinking about that, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger duo there. And, I just feel like you turn over. Charlie, anything to say? But nothing to add, Alicia.
Nothing to add. All right. Maybe we should go to Nebraska and we can do this there next time.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. D-Trust Trail, I hope I got that right, asks, please comment on any plans to add brokerage, IRAs, 401k services, either directly or possibly by enhancing the industry's ability to offer 24/7 on-chain trading.
Great. Well, when you say brokerage, I'm assuming you're talking about securities here or stocks. And we're making a big push now to bring tokenized securities on chain. We think every asset class is going to come on chain. We talked about that in the earnings call. We're calling it the everything exchange, right? Every asset class on the internet. And really, that's coming on chain should be tradable on one platform. We think that that's an enormous opportunity. So we're making a big push to do that. And as you pointed out here, 24/7 trading is one of the things that can give you. We've been doing that in crypto for a long time, but that represents an opportunity to update the traditional financial system. There's lots of other benefits we can talk about for tokenized securities. And I think getting more international distribution, there's a lot of demand for these assets overseas, spinning up perpetual futures markets. There's a lot of things that it could do. And it's probably something we haven't even thought of too. So we'll have to kind of lean into the frontier here and see what happens. The question asked about IRA and 401k accounts as well. Nothing to announce on that today, but we do see demand for this from customers wanting to open different types of tax advantaged accounts, et cetera. And it's something we'll have to support over time.
All right, next question. Aber12212. What is your opinion, Brian, on meme coins?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of people out there that are looking for higher volatility assets now. Now that the majors in crypto have become a little bit more steady, and I mean, you can still make great returns investing in the core assets, but I think for people who are trying to do 100x or something like that, they are looking at meme coins. And it's created this very fascinating new environment where, Elon will put out a tweet and there'll be a meme coin within 100 milliseconds, and someone tries to get in early and decide what that's going to do or not do. So I'm not personally somebody who trades a lot of meme coins, but I do think there's something interesting there, and that I don't want to. It's sometimes it's tempting for people to look at that and say, oh, well, you underestimate it or whatever. But a lot of new areas, they look like toys at first, but they become quite serious over time. I mean, the internet is probably itself an example of that, where the early internet was just people, putting photos of cats and stuff like that. And it turns out it's now 20% of all global GDP running on the internet. So you don't want to underestimate these things. I think that what we're doing in the Base app is we're experimenting with a variation of meme coins, which we call content coins, where every post, every type of content you make is a coin, and people can trade it. And it's a way for content creators to have a direct relationship with their audience. The meme coins that people trade today, it's often just like an icon and a piece of text. And so I'm hoping that with content coins, it can actually be more engaging and dynamic. You could have, a long form podcast, or every YouTube video, or every Spotify song, or every post on X could be a content coin. And people can actually make derivative works of content coins as well. And so they could, if someone creates a great meme template, there could be 1,000 derivatives of it, and actually economics could flow back to the creator of the original because it spawned so much creativity from the original. So I think that's more the direction that excites me, and I think that's where it could go. But the way that people are trading meme coins today is an early example that we should not discount. And I should mention, by the way, with the retail on the Coinbase app, we're integrating decentralized exchanges, which is coming out in the next few weeks. All these meme coins, should be available to trade to everybody. We want to make sure we're allowing every asset that's legal to trade to our customers. So we're very supportive of people trading that if they want to in the Coinbase app as well. It's part of the everything exchange. You should be able to trade every asset that is legal to do so.
Next question. Coinbase Ventures has hundreds of portfolio companies. Many are integrated into Base. For example, Zora, Farcaster, Aerodrome, Uniswap. Are there one or two companies at CB Ventures that are worth highlighting? Thanks for this question, Julian Young.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I mean, Coinbase Ventures has been an unequivocal success. I think they've made 500 or so investments to date, and I don't know how much we share this externally, Alesia, but it's up a lot. So it's a great set of investments.
We recorded at cost though, for the most part, until we get companies that go liquid, like Circle, when we took a $1.5 billion gain this quarter. So most of the assets that you see on our balance sheet and you see in our financials is at the value that we initially invested at.
Yeah, that's true. It's tough to market all these things. We don't want to also in the private markets, it's hard to really count it because people can have a down round, right? So we're taking a very conservative approach in how we market to market, but
a very appropriate approach, Brian.
A very appropriate approach and conservative.
Appropriate, yes, gap. Okay.
Good. But yeah, I'm very bullish on Coinbase Ventures, and both for just the returns, but also as you mentioned, it's allowed us to stay close to and help accelerate all these different startups that many of them, like you said, we've integrated into the Base app. We also have a Base ecosystem fund, by the way, I should mention, that is a subset of Coinbase Ventures, and we make grants to people building on top of Base, and that's been a pretty successful program. So I think the question asked about, are there any others that are worth highlighting? I think there's one, I think prediction markets are very exciting, and I actually would love to see prediction markets come more on chain. Some of the early ones are amazing companies. We're investors in some of those too, but they're like partially on chain, partially off chain. There's a company called Limitless, which is building a totally on-chain prediction market on Base, which is really cool. You can check out the Limitless app. There's also one other one that's a DeFi-powered savings platform called Nook. It's built on Base. That's started by a Coinbase alum. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool companies that we've invested in, and we'll keep doing that. I think it's a great accelerant to the ecosystem.
All right, Brian, this is from 0x Flare. How's Brian's experience? Brian, how's your experience using the Base app? And how did you and Jesse come up with the Base Shake? What do you plan to do with your earnings from your Base app posts is a second question. So Base Shake and then earnings.
Yeah. Well, my experience using the Base app so far has been great. I mean, I haven't shared this publicly yet, but I just in the last few weeks since the app launched, I've been making posts, and I've earned hundreds of thousands of dollars on the platform. So, I mean, my use case might be a little bit of an exception as one of the people involved in it, by the way, I'm planning to pay all of that back forward to future creators in the ecosystem. So to me, it's not necessarily about personally making money on it, but it shows that like this magic moment that happened in the app for me, and I think will happen for a lot of other customers, is the first time that you post some piece of content and you start to get notifications on your phone about people buying it, and you're earning money from your content and it's just arriving into your app. And that's something that a lot of content creators have never experienced before, because first of all, if you don't have a huge audience, you can't really sell ads. It doesn't make sense for these ad platforms to really go after you if you're not really at massive scale. And then even the ones that are at massive scale, you might have to sell an ad and record this thing, and some wire comes into your account 2 months later, and if some invoice got paid. It's a totally different experience to have real-time response from people who are consuming your content and saying, do we like it or not, and why? And do we believe that this person is going to create more good content in the future? Do they want to make derivative content, or remix the content that you've put out and make their own content? And if you discover interesting content and you're the early person to share it, then you can participate in the value chain. So you're more like a curator instead of the original creator, right? So anyway, it's been and by the way, the app is it's in beta, right? So there's a few rough edges, there's things that could be better, but those sparks and those magic moments are already happening. And so it makes me feel like the Base app is really onto something. I think the question asked about the Base Shake too, which any of you who don't know, that was the first post I put out there, which was this unintentional, I have to say, awkward moment during the announcement event where I went in for the fist bump and Jesse Pollock wanted to shake hands, and we did some people call it the gear shifter or whatever. And so that was a fun, awkward moment that was totally unplanned, and it just symbolic of us doing it live and being a little awkward ourselves. So I decided to make that the first post on Base because I saw somebody post it and they suggested it as an idea, like you should coin this as the first. And then I sort of did a throwback to the first post on X that Jack Dorsey did by saying, just setting up my base. So that was fun. And every post at this point that I do is a content coin. So it's not unique, like as a one-off. It's like, I'm going to do every post that way, and everybody should.
All right. This is going to be our last question, Brian. So from Boar4991, when is Aerodrome FI integration into Coinbase going live?
Well, good news. That should start rolling out over the next several weeks. And this is a big part of our push into the Everything Exchange. Is we want to have decentralized exchanges integrated directly into the app. It's kind of that DeFi mullet strategy that we've talked about a few times, where in the back end, it's using DeFi or a decentralized exchange in this case, but the customer doesn't really need to know or care about that. The experience to buy something should look pretty much the same. There'll be a small label that discloses this, and you can, we're big on disclosures, but I think most customers, they won't have to care about how it's executing underneath. They just want the best price, the best customer experience. So, yep, Aerodrome is an amazing decentralized exchange built on top of Base, and that'll be rolling out in the next few weeks.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.